The number one guy in news was fired. We're talking about Tucker. And one of the reasons is Tucker went public with where the virus came from, and they axed him. Well, speaking about, we're not going to have you back. We're going to devote a lot of time to this. And the reason we're going to do it is I think this is really important. You did perfect segue. Thank you for that, Will. Tucker Carlson, the most popular man on news across all networks, mainstream media, alternative media. He was obviously the host on Fox. He was pulling in one night more than everybody else combined.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, no warning to him, no warning to his audience. After a show he did on a Friday, he's gone. No reason given. 700,000 Twitter followers added to his Twitter account in the first week since he was gone. What, 50, 60 million people saw his first commentary, even though that's like 50 times the people he had as followers, right? What I'm talking about, obviously, is Tucker, which is this guy, the most popular man on news, and now he's not on the news. I think I've got the reasons figured out why they canned him, and we're going to talk about it, and we're going to talk about it a lot. So I welcome your comments from the audience, and obviously Will Johnson here on the show. Carlson weighed in over a number of years about COVID. And the rumor behind the scenes is the drug companies, specifically Merck, Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer, all went to the network and said, listen, we're your biggest advertisers by far. Get this guy to stop talking about COVID and presenting studies and stuff, which we don't want to hear, or we're going to take our advertising hundreds of millions to other networks. And bingo, the Murdochs pulled him with no warning. I've broken it down into a number of different things Tucker says and has said, and I want to get your comments, Will. Starting first, was Tucker Carlson talked all about where COVID-19 came from. In the very beginning, he said, maybe it came from Wuhan, from the Wuhan virology lab. Maybe an animal transmitted it to researchers and the Chinese government didn't quarantine them properly. That was in September of 2020. And they came after him for that. Then he had this virologist, Li Mingyan, on, and she said she worked there. She escaped to the United States. And she said on his show that the virus was engineered and intentionally released to infect the entire world. And so started calling it the Wuhan virus because it came from Wuhan, and he got attacked brutally. Why? Because he called it Wuhan virus, which, by the way, every flu in the history of the world is named after where it comes from. You know,
Yep.
Chinese flu,
Yep.
Hong Kong flu, and so Spanish flu.
The Ebola.
Ebola is named after the river in Africa where
Yeah.
this infectious disease was wiping out Africans.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's racist. It means here's where we found it, right? They geographically locate it in its name. But everyone said you can't call it the Wuhan virus.
Well, it's only racist when someone white acknowledges where it comes from. That's the only time it becomes racist. See, in Africa, when it's the Ebola, oh, it's okay. It's the Ebola virus. It's okay. But when someone white says it, oh my goodness, you're racist.
How dare you?
Exactly. So he got attacked for being a racist, literally. I'm looking at the commentary. Wuhan virus, the name Wuhan virus is claimed to be offensive and racist. And Carlson came back in February 2020 saying, now's not the time to engage in this rhetoric. We need accuracy and clear language to talk about the threat. Okay. And then last year, Department of Energy comes out and goes, we know where it came from. The United States government. It came from Wuhan. Who was right? Tucker Carlson, 2 years previous, right? And the United States government said, quote, one of the very first things we know about COVID, it was an engineered virus that escaped somehow, intentionally or not, from the Chinese military biolab in Wuhan. So Tucker was right. The critics that called him racist were wrong. Strike number one. What do you say?
Well, it's the same thing when President Trump was saying Wuhan. They were trying to say it was racist. How dare you say it? And then when President Trump was saying Kung Flu, they really went berserk. I mean, how dare you? How dare you? You know what? Again, this is just another example of telling the truth and then they penalize you for it. You're doing what's right and then they penalize you for it. You do good on your credit score and then they penalize you for it. You want to go to job every single day and do the right thing, keep your chin up, stand to your work, and then they penalize you for it. You work hard every day, start a business, become very successful, blood, sweat, tears, everything else, pain, and then they want to penalize you for it. The same thing here. Tucker Carlson was telling the truth. And again, just like I mentioned before, the state media, they want to be able to control the narrative. The Democrats, the federal government, they want to be able to control the propaganda that they're pushing out onto people. And when you have someone coming along, speaking the truth, or even just, don't even have to tell the complete truth, Barry, just say enough to get people to start thinking, then we got a problem.